Rock.
All right. Okay. I
All
guess
right.
we're on. All right. Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty. Do it yourself spiritual awakening for divine in the flesh. Now with replays on IGtV at dakini.kiss, where together we all learn how to surf and navigate the ups and downs of the totality of human experience, composing a new earth beyond the limitations of this perception and managed reality matrix of five senses, having discovered our true divine creative natures in our true central sensorial universe of seven senses, creating formless into form outside of the matrix in the true quantum field creation field universe. Before we get started, please do give this video a thumbs up. Please also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, selecting the all setting so that when I upload videos, YouTube will let you know. I generally upload Tuesdays and Fridays, 2 p.m. Eastern. My name is Maria West, and I am your hostess of the highest, here to download, upload, inspire, and usher you into your bestest and brightest selves, your bestest and brightest light, and inviting you all to open your hearts wider and wider and wider still. Hi, darlings. Welcome to episode, what is this? This is 220. And we're going to do things a little different here. So the setup is different. And I have with me today one of my most favorite people on the planet, Mr. Adam Finnegan, who is a colleague of mine, one of my soul brothers, a writer, a researcher, an entrepreneur, a webmaster. Just, I can't tell you enough good things about this beautiful soul. Adam, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So Adam and I have been collaborating in fact, we're going to do it tomorrow, the soft launch of my new website, LoveTruth&Beauty.com. And this is something that we have been working on, and Adam has been immensely creatively helpful, technologically helpful. He's just been a dream come true in essence. I don't know what else to say, because those of you who know me, you know my troubles in terms of, the websites and on and getting my shit wrecked. And it's like, hello. So thank you, Adam. I look forward to it. I mean, we're endeavoring to timely do this. Today is the new moon in Aquarius, in bulk. Also, Chinese New Year, year of the tiger. I think it's the water tiger. I'm not sure. And Venus just went direct a couple of days ago, and Mercury is going to go direct in a few days. So there's a lot of stuff moving around.
And tomorrow is 2/2/22.
That's right.
It is interesting date.
It's a 10-1 day. So it's a Wheel of Fortune and magician day. So yeah. So okay, Adam, what are you up to?
I'm just kind of doing life. I've been out, work on your site. This is for those who don't know, I've done my site, and some people know my site. And when we started, I asked you, well, do you like my site? And you said, yeah, I really like your site. But I didn't really go all out on my site. I probably should do more work on it. But when I did yours, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And I realized that, wow, I actually have some talent here.
Yes.
In that. And I think yours looks amazing.
It really does look amazing. And I'm just so fired up. And I can't thank you enough, because you know me, I was hemming and hawing and just like, oh my God.
I'm an artistic type of mind, like I do regular, like here's a little thing I did of the mongoose,
I love the mongoose.
I'm an artist. I do a lot of graphics. I do a lot of pen and ink and stuff. But when I did your site, that was just like, I was impressed, because it was something that I didn't realize I had much, I have done graphic design too, but I never actually tried to make a website. And that one was really good. I mean, it came out so well.
I know.
I'm really proud of that site.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it too. And you know,
I'm the kind of
thank
person
you.
where I don't compromise. Like, if I don't feel like something's up to par, then I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it really gets to me. So I'm the kind of person who's I'm either all in or I'm not at all. And this one, I was just all in and made it very well. I think it reflects you and I think it reflects you very well. The color scheme and everything just looks amazing. All the effects and stuff. I think people will, when people see it pretty soon, they'll be pretty impressed. And I hope to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been doing some stuff on my site. Some of the stuff where I'm just kind of getting burnt out of, like all the public health stuff that I've been doing. And that's something that I just know a lot about. So I kind of do it. But I really want to get back to more of the stuff that has, you know, involves with the inner work.
Beautiful.
That's something that even when I'm doing stuff like that is something that I always have to keep into, you know, in perspective. That's something that you always have to have, you know, working on. You have to be able to center yourself into that when you're working on a lot of stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's not a one-off event. And I think that's what more and more people are realizing. Like,
Right.
I hear so many people make these blanket statements. Oh, I worked on that already. Oh,
Yeah. And
bullshit.
that's something too. That's something too that I learned myself, is that, you know, because it took me, like, growing up, I got into all the drugs and everything. I mean, you know, I lived a life that I don't really hide my shit. You know what I mean? It's like,
What
okay,
for? Yeah,
I fucked up a lot of times growing up. It took me a lot of bad shit, went to jail for a while. Then when I did, I actually got myself together and I said, okay, I'm never coming back here. And I want to do what I got to do to stay out of places like this. And, you know, and I did a lot of work. And what I realized too was that I got into a place where I was kind of, I guess you could say, you know, complacent, thinking that, oh, well, I did all the work. Now I'm better. And I found out the hard way. I was like, hey, actually, it's something that you have to keep. It's kind of like, you know, cleaning your apartment, you know,
exactly.
You don't just clean it once and then it's like, oh, well, I never have to clean it again.
Right. I hear that a lot with people who, you know, work on themselves, if they're doing therapy or energy work. Well, it doesn't work because you have to go again. And I'm just like, what is up with that? That is just the craziest thing. So you just do stuff once. You just clean yourself up once, throw out the garbage once, and you're done. I mean, it's weird. It's very weird. So yeah, that is a really great point. And it just seems like a lot of people are like, and especially with the shit shows that we've encountered of late over the last couple of years with the Anointing, it's like, you cannot just rest on anything that comes across your screen, whether it's the outer screen or the inner screen or into your awareness. You have to like really keep at it.
Yeah. And, you know, when I look at my life too, like looking back, I realized there was a point where I kind of went off, you know, it's like I was growing up, and then at a certain point, I kind of like went into this oblivion or this obscurity and got lost, like kind of totally out of alignment with myself.
Yeah.
Kind of just lost, didn't really know who I was, kind of felt like I was just wandering in space.
Yep, I can relate.
And then ended up, you know, getting in a lot of trouble, spending a lot of years, wasting a lot of years doing drugs and stuff like that. And that was kind of the process of getting lost.
Yeah.
And then it was like, you know, when all that came to a head, it was kind of like coming back to myself, and you start to rediscover a lot of things about yourself, you know. And like even lately, it's like I got back into, I was running like 6 miles a day, like 2 summers ago, and my knee just kind of got all messed up, and I was like, oh man, I can't really run like this anymore. And I bought one of those BMX bikes. It's a mongoose, actually, right? And I used to watch this movie when I was a kid. It was called Rad. It was a BMX movie. um, yeah, I got into that. I was like, oh, well, I'll just get a bike because there's a bike trail like right down the street and it stretches for miles and miles and miles. And I hit on that thing and I just ride away and I hit all these jumps and I just kind of feel like a kid again. It's so funny, but I get this really good workout on it. It's like stuff that I liked when I was younger, or had potential to go into. And then also, like getting over some of my fears. That was another process.
Oh, that's right. With your scorpion, mama.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, I used to have this fear of scorpions and stuff. And I had a dream about a scorpion about 2 summers ago. And it started to grow on me. I started to look into the symbolism. It had this like influence, like kind of this inspiration.
Cool.
You start looking into it, you get real interested into it. You want to know, it's got this mystery to it, and it started to grow on me more. And then I'm like, maybe I'll get a pet scorpion. And I was like, no way, I could never do something like that. And then one day I did.
You did.
I got a pet emperor scorpion. It was so funny too, because like I was like having these like small little anxiety attacks as it was like on its way. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I was like, what has gotten into me?
Yeah. And it's alive. It's alive and it could hurt you.
It was only a little baby, right?
It doesn't matter. The small ones are potent.
Yeah. And so I got it and it came in this little container, kind of like if you go out to a restaurant and you get like takeout and they put those things of like mustard into those little containers. Right. So within one of those, I put it into its home and I was like, wow. I watched it and it was funny because the first few nights I had these nightmares that it had got out and it was crawling on my bed.
Oh my God.
And all that really was those fears that had, integrated into me. It was those fears kind of working itself out. And as time went on, I got less, the fear started to just dissolve. And then eventually I held it.
That's awesome. I remember the pictures. I remember when you first got her, it was like, oh my God.
Kali is my emperor. And then I got some other not Asian forest scorpion, Soul Reaper, who's huge, the big one, the real big one. And then I'm like, wow, she might be gravid, which is the word for pregnant. And she was.
Right.
Ended up having had 12 babies.
Congratulations, Papa.
Yeah. That was really interesting. And I got a lot of that on tape. I made some videos.
I know they're fantastic. We should put some links in the description box that lead to those videos because they're fantastic. Okay, so tell us a little bit about papadom as a scorpion papa. Yeah, and dealing with mama.
Yeah, I took care of them. They're all in my room there, just enjoying the dirt. I was like, I was saying, like, what do? They must like meditate or something, just sitting down there in their little burrows, just staring at dirt all day, And I had my emperor out the other day, and it was like sleeping on my hand and you can always tell because their tail goes down, not up, like ready for action.
Right, but it just kind of is at rest. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and they sleep too, I guess, so it may have been sleeping, but I know it was resting. And it's like whenever I hold that one, it kind of does that, gets into this calm little trance or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like those things are very inspiring. Those things can be tools for life too. Like, the symbolism. And the scorpion to me is kind of like a symbol of many different things. One of the things that I think about is a symbol of time, and its association with the goddess Kali, like time.
Yes.
Got 2 claws in the tail, kind of like, the 2 hands of a clock, and then the
right.
And then kind of like also a symbol of self-defense, because they're brutal looking.
Yes.
And when I held the mom, she's huge. I had gloves on when I held her because one time I did pick her up by the tail and she pinched me so hard I bled.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, that was my fault.
Okay. Warning.
Pick her up
Warning.
like that.
Warning.
I shouldn't have. I picked it up by the end of its tail, so it was able to reach up and just pinch me really hard.
Wow.
That. But after that, I put my gloves on and I put her on my hand and she was huge. I have a video of that. It's like one of the last videos I made, and I told the story of the whole thing. It was called like My Family of Scorpions or something like that.
Wow.
And so that was a really interesting experience I had that kind of added to my whole life process, you know, and something from way back, you know, coming back. And it's like, hey, how many times do you hear about people like actively trying to get over fears like that? You know
exactly.
what I mean?
It's the same story with my fear of snakes, for
Yeah.
instance. And then all of a sudden,
I'm trying to like, lionize myself or anything.
right,
It's like, wow, it's a cool thing. And I'm saying it because I inspire other people to try, you know, because you grow a lot when you overcome.
exactly.
Really do.
You come face to face with these fears. A lot of them are very irrational.
Yeah.
And then some of them are, for all intents and purposes, it's probably a practical fear.
Yeah.
For some.
I still kind of have a fear of the spiders, though. Those kind of get.
I have an agreement with spiders. You come near my bed.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over. I'm sorry.
Certain ones like really kind of freak me out. Like those ones that look like the black widows and stuff with that shape that.
Right.
Get the creepy crawlies when you think about them.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then lately I've been really interested in the mongoose. Like I said, I did this, I can't really see it, but I did this drawing of the mongoose.
I love that GIF. I love that GIF that you've shown me about the mongoose. I mean, it's almost like the honey badger in many ways. They have the same kind of fierce character. Oh yeah, this little tiny thing, relatively speaking, like going up against cobras, going up against these venomous snakes and prevailing.
And it started because I have a mongoose bike, and I started to get more interested in the animal itself because the logo for the mongoose bike is this fierce little mongoose. I was like, oh, what are they all about? I started to look into them, and they are a very interesting animal, just like the honey badger. And I'd say that they're probably kind of on the same level.
Yeah.
But the mongoose is like this fearless. I mean, you see all these videos where they're just fighting cobras and black mambas and stuff like that.
It cracks me up.
Yeah. And then I sent you that GIF that it's there's like it was a little mongoose taking on 4 lions. It was just like,
I know, and that one cub was just like perplexed, like, what?
Yeah.
Are you really coming at me for real? Like, what?
Yeah, if we can figure out a way to show it, we should. But that was really funny. But it's cool because you get inspired by stuff like that, especially like stuff in the wild. I mean, not to say that we're animals or anything like that, but we are part of that, but we're obviously a level beyond them. But there's always inspiration you can draw from them, like the mongoose, for instance, is fearless, but it's also kind of like a social creature too. So it kind of inspires you, like for me, like the last year or so, a lot of stuff that I've been doing is kind of like getting back into being more social outside, like not on a computer or on the net. And I've started to realize how withdrawn we've all become, and there was a point in time where I was like, man, I'm so sick of like internet life,
Yeah, I'm sick of it right now.
Me too.
I'm so sick of it right now. So for me, it's like this, like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? And I pride myself in being a hermit or a recluse. But, before this shit show, I was traveling all over the world. So, this boom, 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 boom. And then it's everything is
Yeah.
shut down and over.
Yeah, like
So
the last year or two for me, it was like trying to get out more and be more social and stuff like that. And it's been a good time. Like, and I started getting out more, riding my bike, but also taking my dog for walks down the bike trail, talking to people when you see someone saying hello, talking,
yeah,
stopping to chat for a minute. And it's just been like, wow. When I first started out, I was like, man, I'm kind of withdrawn. I'm like almost like having the social anxiety, being around other people. I was like, why am I like that? It's because of like, being on the computer all the time and only having like interactions. Cause I got into that. I can be a social butterfly, but I'm also kind of like a recluse if I don't make myself get out there.
Right.
And I got to a point where I was just like, wow, I only kind of talk to people online. I was like, what's up with that? And I started to explore why.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And then as a writer, as a creator, the writing does not get done. The creations do not materialize themselves unless you're actually implementing it and doing it, and that takes time. But there's a balance, and so I know that's one of the things that I've been tackling is this whole thing about self-care and being in balance with the being and the doing, and balancing the suffering with pleasure and enjoyment. So how do you navigate that in terms of balancing all of it, taking care of yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I cover a lot of stuff that is not very, I cover a lot of stuff that's disheartening. It's kind of hard to deal with.
Me as well.
If you don't keep yourself in line, it's easy to kind of look at everything as doom and gloom, but it doesn't have to be like that. And you shouldn't allow yourself to get like that, even though there is a certain level that is, you should be kind of disturbed at some things in the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Hell yes. Yes, I do know.
But yeah, I mean, I draw influence from a lot of things like what we were just talking about, like my scorpions. I draw influence from what I call my spirit team. I have always been a very individualistic type of person.
Yes, we have that in common. We have that in common. The elementals.
I am who I am, and I may kind of I kind of go with the flow throughout my life as certain things come into my life. And it's not something that is like trendy. It's like, I don't go into things because it's popular. It's like, I'm a very individualistic type of person. And some things I may get into that people look at controversially. You know what I mean?
I do.
I know you know what I'm talking about, but it's like you have to kind of let yourself, I guess, explore yourself and say, okay, what am I into? What inspires me?
Yes.
I'm the type of person that loves to listen to music like 24/7, so it's different music. And I like a lot of different music. Like lately I've been listening to a lot of indie alternative, like Cage the Elephant, The Neighborhood, stuff like that. But I also really like some of that harsh metal, like heavy metal. I really like some of that too. But music is something that keeps me in line. That's something that I listen to throughout the day, and then when it's nice out, right now it's like a foot of snow, so I can't really do my BMXing right.
Well, you could, but it might be funny.
Yeah.
Not.
But I draw influence from a lot of things that inspire me. Like lately, the mongoose. I do the art. I do artwork, stuff like that. And I've also been exploring a lot of different systems of like magic and whatnot. The occult. Obviously, you gotta tread carefully, and you gotta start out with a good foundation, right?
Yes.
And if anybody has been following me, I've been like sick for a while. So this is something, and what I found out is it's not very easy to get better sometimes. And you really have to kind of go at things in an unconventional way when the conventional things aren't working. You have to say, okay,
Exactly.
it's kind of like a journey, and you have to really start looking into, start listening to your body, what's going on. I mean, I haven't really found the answer, to be honest with you, but
Yes.
I've found a lot of things that have been helpful, been allies to me on this journey. And I think part of it too is perhaps, I think we all have a purpose on this planet. I think perhaps some of us come into a body that may be sick for a reason.
Yes.
And I think that may have been one part of my journey and going into a lot of stuff that I get into.
Do you want to get into that a little bit more so that folks can?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
My major area of study is like biological warfare, stuff like that. And right now it's kind of a controversial thing because everybody has a different kind of view on illness. I'm coming from a point where I've been sick for a while. But one thing I can say is that a lot of this stuff is like, in its essence, are chemicals, right? Biochemicals. And those can be poisons if a bunch of people get together and say, okay, germs are like this. Germs can be beneficial to your body, and we are made of germs pretty much. But when certain people get together and say, okay, how can we turn this into a weapon, basically? And that's the kind of mindset a lot of these leaders have, and militaries and stuff like that.
Such a great point.
It's not much different than a chemical weapon. It's just basically, okay, let's put these poisonous chemicals on this germ. And it's kind of the same idea, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and I've been doing this for probably 4 or 5 years now, intense studies of all this stuff. I've done I've got a lot of books from Germany. There's a guy named Eric Traub, who's like the main focus of my work. He's gotten to an area, he was like a valuable player in the whole thing, and he found out a lot of things that aren't really covered now. But what I've realized is a lot of the science, the areas of science have gotten completely out of control. And that's kind of a hard thing for a lot of people to deal with. If they found all of the stuff that I found, I mean, it's just like, wow.
Yes.
This is out of control. I mean,
right.
People just like getting together and just looking at the world like it's this big lab, like they can just.
Right. Or one right lab. So, when I hear people talk about believe the science, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Exactly. Yeah. Like what? Nobody can actually tell you what science they are talking about other than the Church of Scientism and whatever is being pushed and promulgated by
but at the same time, it's like I do also believe too that disease there's a lot of other elements involved. I think this is just one part of it.
Yes.
Right. It's kind of like a mystery, I guess you could say. I've always pondered the mystery of disease. It is kind of a mystery too. Like, when I used to do these sweat lodges with this elder named Whitefeather, we used to call the universe the great mystery, right? And so the body is kind of like a mini universe, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like a mini.
Absolutely. It's our cells are basic holograms of the entirety of the universe.
So I think I think too, there's different elements, that can come into play where some people are sick actually because of some, things they haven't dealt with. Some people are sick because they've been exposed to something that's very toxic. Sometimes, somebody may have somebody that's draining their energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. It all is, it's all pulled together somehow.
It's kind of like a mini great mystery.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's the way I kind of look at it. I mean, there is that element that I've got into, but I'm not saying that's the only thing.
Right.
Like I can get into a lot of what you're saying because, like, you know, like in your book and stuff, talking about some of that stuff that comes into play.
Right.
So,
The sort of tribal lineages of emotional, mental dysfunction, you know,
right.
our thought quality
Yeah.
and our emotional countenance having great affects to the physical body and to our ability to even live our lives. And that's part of, I think that's part of doing the great work is you have to be able to excavate that stuff and get really clear about what you're up to and or what you don't align with, and make sure you've extricated yourself from it.
Yeah, and you know, and part of my journey is also getting myself clear of people who drain my energy, people who kind of people that are unhealthy that just drain your energy, and you're just kind of like,
here. Yeah, I'm all for that.
There's a lot of different elements at play. And one thing else I've been thinking about a lot is just like how divided everybody's become. You know, how you know, even within certain movements, it's like everything's just becoming so compartmentalized. Different groups, right? And I just been thinking lately, oh man, you know, we need like some kind of great unifier, all right? Some kind of great unity. That's one thing that's been on my mind a lot, you know, with all this divide and conquer crap. I think that's like the main blueprint.
I agree. And I think it starts within. It really starts within. I mean, in my humble opinion, it really is the integration of the divine masculine and feminine within each and every one of us. We want to talk about
myself. I've had to put myself in check a few times and be like, all right, look, why not look at the things that you can build on instead of all the things that divide you, the things that don't have to say, just because we don't have to start going at each other's throats over this. It's just kind of find the common bond between us and build off that, you know, instead.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, the divide and conquer within your internal masculine and feminine, the weaving of the being and doing and the suffering and the pleasure within you, and having the absolute devotion to what that means for you and how you wield it.
And it's also like sometimes just being able to kind of say, okay, maybe I'm wrong here, you know, maybe I'm being able to look at yourself and say, you know, when you're kind of out of line, you know, and we all get there at some point, being able to say, okay, I think maybe I was out of line here. I gotta, you know, get back into my center, balanced, and just kind of, I think that's probably one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do, is to say, I was wrong, you know? And over the years, I've kind of gotten to that point, that mode where I'm always kind of looking at myself too, almost like stepping outside of yourself, being able to look at your own behavior. That's a huge, huge part of this whole thing. Being to look at your own behavior, being able to say, because this is like, you're always crafting yourself to be better. And what I mean by better is more in line with truth, you know, more in line with balance, more in line with the harmony that is the universe.
The pure heart.
The pure hearts, right. I always said, you know, if there's all these like secret groups that people getting together that are doing things that are just like detestable, why can't there be like these group of people that are like pure hearts that want to do good, you know, like a secret society that actually wants to do good, you know?
I'm down with that.
But you know, part of my journey has been just kind of looking into a lot of unconventional things too. Just thinking outside of the box when you have a problem that just doesn't really give way to the usual things, like trying to find ways, unconventional ways to deal with things. That's a big part, you know. And you know, that's where like my spirit, what I call my spirit team comes in. I have this image, you probably can't see it, but
Let's see.
it's two scorpions, my belladonna plants. It's got a mongoose in the middle, two datura flowers
I
on
love it.
top, and then a gin on the very top,
Cool.
which is my companion.
Yes. Adam and I have, we have very similar nature, deva, elemental teammates.
Yeah. And you know, it's not really something that I talk about a lot. Like, I'm the kind of person where I can operate at different levels. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I can get into something and just keep it at what it is. Like some of my research into biological warfare or public health, I don't really bring a lot of that stuff into it, but I'm also I have a mystery to myself, you know, like I'm a deep person. I have many layers. I have many areas of depth, and some of the stuff people would be like, wow, that's unusual. I never knew that about you. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the reasons why we get along so well. The scorpions, the daturas, the jinns, yeah. I mean,
you know, and some of it, like for instance, the gin is a area that, you know, brings up a lot of feelings for people that, oh, isn't that evil? And
I know
some of
people
it, you know,
freak the fuck out.
I would say that, you know, yeah, there are some of that, because, you know, these are beings that were born with free will, just like humans.
Yes.
It's like painting all humans as evil when that's not the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to have some really terrible human beings.
There's a variety of all of us. Yes.
But then there's also going to be some very beautiful beings that remind you, wow, you know, not all humans are these evil creatures. So,
exactly. And not all gens are terrible or evil.
Yeah. I mean, you got to tread carefully and do your research and stuff, like anything. Kind of like when I was getting my scorpions and stuff, it was like, you have to kind of approach things in a responsible way, you know. If you get into something and you start, you know, having, like, you can measure how healthy something is by the results it brings. Like, is this bringing me, you know, into bad places? Is this bringing me unhealthy
great
things?
Point.
You know what I mean? And that's something that, yeah, if you approach the gin in that way and you end up with something that is not very good, because they're not all friendly, then yeah, you're gonna have problems. And I certainly wouldn't want an unfriendly, malevolent gin on my side.
Yeah. Me neither. Just like all fairies aren't cute. They're not cute. They're not all nice.
Yeah. And I also was kind of doing a lot of study in some of those areas like angel magic.
I know. You worked on me not that long ago, and it was absolutely helpful.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Yeah. And so it was like, with all that, I was kind of like approaching things like finding new methods, finding new ways of doing things. And that was kind of like an area that was very helpful, because it kind of like got me out of myself, because it was like doing something very different, you know. And I've been interested in that stuff a long time, you know. Like I have tons of books behind me here. A lot of them are like occult books. I've studied a lot of that stuff for many years. I have kind of dived into a lot of unhealthy stuff years ago. And it was kind of a process of fucking up a few times before getting it right.
Well, we have to go into a lot of these different rabbit holes. And a lot of these different rabbit holes are very some of them are really dangerous. Some of them are extremely circuitous and very convoluted and filled with tricksters. And how else are you going to discern if it's not like right in your face and you're having to like go toe to toe, face to face with like an actual demon and learn how to like really master your energy field,
Right.
so that you don't get sucked in and you're not susceptible to getting overtaken.
Yeah, that was actually one of the processes that I had to kind of unravel first before I took on some of these other things. Like, you know, I have one companion jinn that is a beautiful, it's a female jinn. But before all that happened, I did a lot of protective work, right? And one of the things I was doing was just kind of aligning myself with energies that would be helpful, energies that would be good for me. And that's where I got into like a lot of that angel magic stuff.
Yes.
And that kind of unfolded first. And then it was kind of like a process of finding my spiritual path. And along the way, kind of spontaneous, just like everything else that's kind of come into my life. I would say my entire spirit team they all came into my life spontaneously. The scorpions, the mongoose, the nightshade plants.
Yes.
Right? And that's a very interesting story that I have up on my site, you know, how I got into all that. And, you know, on the surface, right, someone might look at all this and say, wow, that's very unhealthy. You like poison plants and gin, and you know what I mean?
I get accused of that kind of stuff constantly.
But if you actually if you actually take the time and kind of hear me out and hear my story, you realize that actually it's not very unhealthy, but entirely healthy.
Right. Yeah, you're on a path of discovery. And part of discovering things about yourself is going deep, discerning, doing the purge, shucking the stuff out that doesn't resonate, and without making it wrong, and moving on.
Yeah, and you know, I'm born in August, so I'm like a Leo. I'm a very fiery type of person.
Nice.
So that's why I kind of really aligned with. I've always been drawn to that whole subject of the jinn, right? But I was very cautious for years, but I was always very interested. And so eventually it just kind of came about. I knew a woman whose family has been working with them for 14 generations. They own a jinn temple in India. She's the one who gave me my jinn bound to a ring. And I started to work with that. And it's been a very interesting experience. It just kind of showed me, hey, there's a lot about the universe. It's very, very mysterious and awesome.
I love it.
Kind of puts the magic back in life, right?
Yes.
Like the magic you had when you were a kid. You know that.
Yes. And I'm still connected to that. I'm connected to the fairy realm, the devas, the sylphs, the jinns. And I even have a connection to a certain golem that became known to me when I was a child, and I still have this relationship.
What is it called?
A golem is you know, it's earth magic. So it's earth personified, kind of physical, kind of not. Exactly. Cool. I don't know how else to describe it, but
it's like you don't have to really prove yourself to anyone.
Right. And I don't. If people want to believe me, they can. If they don't, I really don't
it's like,
care.
hey, I am who I am. You know. If you can't deal with that, maybe it's something that you have a problem with yourself. I don't know. That's how
and it was actually a lifesaver for me several times as a child. Just kind of like whisked me out of harm's way when I just decided one time when I was very young at school to leave the school and go out the back way for whatever reason, rather than allow my nanny to come get me. So, I mean, it's very strange. And this golem actually asked me it was a humanoid, but it wasn't in full human form.
Mhm.
Like normal people. Asked me what my address was, and I knew what my address was. And this being like walked me over there to find my nanny, and the police just absolutely fucking flipping out. And I mean, it was a very strange experience. And I wanted to share, well, look, this being brought me, and she was gone.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when it was kind of similar, like when I got my gin, it was like, wow, this is something else. Like I always believed, yeah, hey, they could exist, you know, but I never really, you know, had the opportunity to work with one, actually see one. And I was just like, that was a very interesting, you know, it's still to this day, I wake up and, you know, I have it with me. The way I would describe seeing it is kind of like this wave. It's like they're formless. They can take different forms and whatever. But usually when I see mine, it started to appear after like about a month of working with. It started to appear kind of like the smoke. I like the smoke, right? It can take different forms. Like for instance, I got these friendship doves that hang on a string, and they just kind of like fly around, and
Aww.
my gin started to like.
Oh, I remember you sent me the video.
Yeah.
That was
I have
pretty
it on
cool.
video.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's something that I can show someone like, hey, this is, you know, it's not in my head or anything. This is something I can capture on film. But I'm kind of conservative with it. I don't try to be too flashy about it, because it's still kind of something that you like to kind of keep intimately, like to yourself in a way.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I do. It's a personal journey.
Yeah.
It's your divine team, basically.
Yeah. And everybody has to kind of like ask themselves, okay, you know, what am I drawn to? Like, you know, fuck what other people think of this. Do I like this? You know, is this something that inspires me? And that's something that's always inspired me. The gin, of course, I wouldn't want an unfriendly one on my side. And if I did have one and it was causing me all these problems, I would shut that down right away and say, okay.
Hell yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. You have to set a boundary.
Yeah, you have to. That's a big thing. Boundaries. Boundaries is a huge thing for a lot of people. You know, whether it's yourself crossing other people's boundaries, or it's you know, enforcing your own that other people are
Yes.
overstepping. Those are conversations I've had with a lot of people lately. A lot of friends I have that are girls that get stepped on, and we talk about stuff like that. I say, you know,
Yeah.
if somebody's causing you problems, and no, because there's a lot of people that have good hearts, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people with good hearts get stepped on for whatever reason.
Yes.
It's almost
well, the empath is a magnet for the NSP, the narcissist, sociopath, and psychopath. They require an empath, and they also require their henchmen, which are the apaths, who don't give a shit. They just want to be part of the crowd.
Yeah.
That part of the mob, so to speak, or one of their enforcers. So, and for women, it's dangerous. It's dangerous
definitely. That's kind of the symbolism behind the scorpion too. It's like, and that necklace that you got.
Beautiful.
This was a gift that you got me.
I know.
Doing that website.
Beautiful.
This is an amazing necklace. Amazing necklace. I cherish this necklace along with all my rings and stuff.
Love it.
I love rings.
Love it. I know. I have a whole bunch as well. And my little talismans that I have all over my desk. And yeah.
But, you know, the last year, it's been some trying times for everybody, of course, you know, with all that's going on in the world. So you really have to kind of explore yourself. You have to kind of also get out there and be social, because you still have to be connected to the world, you know. Even with all the craziness, you have to kind of get out there and still be somewhat social. It's to get into that habit of being a recluse. So you know,
What
that's
do
what,
you think your biggest challenge is, just in terms of, doing the great work, just taking care of yourself? What does that look like these days?
yeah, I mean, I still deal with my illness. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I drank a handle of Mr. Boston's vodka the night before, even though I don't drink. Those are like the cheap handles you get for like $10 back in the day. You know what I mean?
Holy moly.
You just feel horrible after drinking it. I don't drink alcohol, but I remember how I used to feel when I did. And sometimes I wake up and I feel like that's from the disease or whatever.
Yeah.
And I still deal with it. I still get exercise. I take my dog for walks every day. But yeah, I mean, my challenges have been kind of being more social. I'm a male in my prime, so I'm kind of like, all right,
Yeah.
looking for a woman. And that's been one of my things too, is just getting out there, trying to meet some girls or whatever. And there's a girl on the bike trail that I see often that I'm kind of interested in.
Nice.
And she's got these beautiful eyes that I don't know her name, but I call her Angel Eyes.
Aww.
And we say hi to each other and stuff, but that's kind of like one of the challenges, I think, for a lot of guys too. It's like approaching,
especially with the climate of that divide and conquer with the fake feminists and all that kind of stuff, wanting to lynch a man for being human, for fuck's sake. It's like,
that's been one of my
scary.
challenges. That's been one of my challenges, even though I'm pretty confident in myself. I believe in myself. I'm comfortable with myself, but just because of the climate, it is kind of it's difficult. It's not, and a lot of other girls too, they're like too used to being on their phone too. So it's like, it's kind of like also getting other people out of that meta universe.
Yes. Very much so. Good point. That's a really, really good point.
Thing I've been doing a lot is journaling.
That
you talk about.
I love it. It's my go-to. It's free, basically, except for, pen, paper.
And I use all the different colors too. Like when I have pens, like whatever emotion I'm feeling, like I have all these colored pens.
Nice.
The gel pens. And
excellent.
I like to keep records of my life, like things. Sometimes I'll just kind of write what I did that day. Sometimes I'll write certain things that are on my mind. Sometimes when I'm angry, that's been kind of a useful thing. It's just writing down.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when I would be angry and I'd just write horrible things and I'd write below it, this is my disease talking or something, and then I'd go back to it later and realize, wow, that's horrible things I just wrote.
Wow.
And you start looking at why was I so angry? And you start to kind of thumb those things out, that's been one of the things that I've found useful, journaling, going into these different unconventional forms of occultism that are healthy.
Yes.
Like angel magic are some things. Now I would say with that stuff, there are higher vibrational energies from the divine that I would call angelic. And I think in a way we all have this kind of, how would I say, almost like awakening the angelic force within you, right? Because I think we all have that potential within us.
Oh, totally.
And I would say that, with angels, it's almost kind of like an archetype, but at the same time, it could be a being as well. But so, with that stuff, it's almost like awakening that element, right, of the angelic within yourself, like some rule over certain things, right?
Cool.
I'm trying to think of an example, but there's different ones. Like you have the archangels or whatnot. Like Raphael is one that's kind of like oversees healing, things of that nature, and a lot of that has to do with emotion too. but it's almost like we're all connected to these things. We have the potential within. So it's almost like doing that is almost like awakening your antenna, the angelic antenna to align.
Beautiful way to put it. Beautiful way to put it. Yes.
It's kind of a mysterious thing, just like my experience with the gin is kind of like a mysterious thing. It makes you realize the mystery of the universe. It makes you realize, wow, this is a very interesting place. But with like some of the angel magic, I was like in my head trying to like think, what exactly is this, right? And I kind of feel like it's almost like you're opening it's almost like you're awakening these elements within yourself even on a cellular level.
Yes.
Where it's just kind of like you're calling certain forces down.
Yes. And
like,
in collaboration and co-creation with them.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. It's like you're kind of like an antenna, kind of like, tuning a radio.
Yes.
Right? What is that? It's like these forces, they're invisible. You can't see them, but they're connecting. Right? You go to a different station, connects to that station. And I would say that's kind of a similar analogy for connecting with the divine intelligence, certain elements of the divine intelligence.
Right.
And there are formulas that have been created over time, over the centuries. You do your research, right? You go into things, you kind of have to just kind of, test things out. And that's something that I got into, because the regular stuff wasn't really doing much for me, like for my disease and everything, just going at things, okay, I was eating good, I was doing all sorts of stuff. Why am I not getting better? And so you have to start exploring different things.
Right, right.
You have to go at things in an unconventional way and say, does this work for me? And a lot of this stuff has actually been working for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm completely better or anything, but I think things have been steadily improving, and I think it's a kind of a battle.
Yes.
But I would say, especially moving into this new apartment, things have been so well for me. I mean, when I think about it, I've been really happy, actually.
You have.
Things have been going great. Like I wake up every day and I'm grateful. Like that's something that is not something that's always been with me. I'm not always felt grateful. I've dealt with a lot of depression and kind of self-hatred for a long time. And those are some things that I've had to work out with myself.
Yeah.
So going into all of this has really been very helpful. And since I've moved into my new place, it's been like a blessing. I've felt grateful. I've been like, I wake up, even on some of my bad days, I'm just like, and that's one of the things that I worked on with some of the angel magic, was feeling grateful, because you're more receptive to things when you're able to feel grateful for life.
Right.
Appreciate life.
Yeah. Well, you're resetting the frequency to receive more of what it is that you are appreciating and grateful for, rather than, and I know how I can be when I get on a fucking shit spin. It's fucking not good. It is not good. I want to spare everybody. I don't want to be online. I don't want to see my partner.
You want to be like the mongoose going after those lions.
Yeah, no fucking shit. It's like, oh my God. It's like, take a pill, girl. Like, stop.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
I can be like that too, and I still have my bad days and everything. But the good thing is that nowadays, like when I have my bad days, I can actually look at it and say, hey, this is part of life. Having bad days is part of life.
Exactly.
And I can, like, at the end of it, kind of regroup myself, regroup. And that's one of the things I do is I sit in my room, right? And I just kind of bounce things off with my gin right there. And I talk about things that are bothering me or this and that. Or if I had a bad day, I kind of talk it out, and then I kind of regroup myself, get myself back together. And then things are great. Like, or at least things go a lot smoother.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And so, there's one of the things, like journaling has been one of my allies. drawing influence from my different spirit animals, my spirit plants, my spirit jinn.
The
And
scorpion babies.
yeah, and some of it's like archetypal, and some of it's very literal. Yeah, and I have a few pictures of I picked out one of the baby scorpions the other day. It was in my hand, starting to look a lot more like mama, getting
They're
darker.
getting darker.
Yeah, very dark.
So trippy.
It's so funny. I have my black light. That's how I kind of see them. I kind of look in. They glow blue.
That's right. They do.
I think they're one of the only creatures that do that. And I was reading an article the other day saying that they're probably the most like dinosaurs or something like that. And
really? Wow, that's cool.
I guess you could say, I mean, I don't know how to think about that whole thing. The whole dinosaur thing is just very unusual to me, but the scorpions have been around for millions of years, right? In their form, in that
right. They haven't changed all that much.
No, not at all. I think they've stayed the same for millions of years, and that to me, I talked about in one of my other articles on it, was that's kind of like a symbol of timeless wisdom, right? Timeless wisdom being that something that is always true, doesn't matter what day and age it is.
Exactly. It is. It's the truth. There it goes. Meow. Across time. Love it.
Yep. And so I have also been putting out articles, I've had to cover some of the stuff that's just not very fun, but I've been able to get into a mindset where I can do it almost kind of detached, still feeling, still feeling the emotion that any human being should have, or reaction that they should have.
Yes.
As unsettling, but also being able to kind of put it aside afterwards. I'd be like, okay, I did my time into that. I put, this article on it, and I put a bunch of them out that are just kind of unsettling stuff. And it's just kind of like, all right, I can kind of wipe the slate and do something else where I'm still dealing with it, right? I'm still dealing with it, not burying my head in the sand,
right?
But I'm not letting it destroy me at the same.
Right. You're not letting the undertow take you out.
Exactly.
And that is a very, very challenging.
Yeah. And
it's a challenging skill.
It's happened to me before. And I could say to anybody, hey, this is probably going to happen to you on that journey of truth. Like, you may get lost in some of this stuff, and it may make you feel like hopeless and make you feel like everything's screwed, everything's fucked. We're all doomed and whatnot. Right. But
people around you aren't who they say they are. That's what happened to me. I started getting
I know.
majorly paranoid.
Yeah. And so, you may take yourself for a ride in this journey. Like, you may get kind of caught up in stuff. It may take you for a ride, but then the whole thing is, can you get out of that? Can you get yourself back into alignment? Can you get yourself centered?
Right.
And kind of focused on yourself? Because if you're only focused on all the outside stuff and you just kind of let go,
you're fucked. You're completely fucked up.
It takes you for a ride in an unhealthy way. And so that's part of the journey. And I would say part of the process is you may go through it a few times. It's kind of like anything, like, riding a bike where you don't know, and you start riding and you fall a few times. You got to get back up. You got to get back on it and keep going.
Right.
Until you can get it done.
The process of waking yourself up and catching yourself up. I'm sound asleep again. I'm snoozing, waking yourself up and getting your attention back in your control.
Yes. Yeah. Because, I do believe we are creators. We can create very awesome, beautiful things if we put our attention to it, right?
Yes.
And I kind of, I also realize, hey, I can't change the entire world and make everybody. So I can only kind of do my little part here and say, hey, I'm doing my part, and that's all I can really do.
Yes.
And then
you create your layer of reality, your universe.
And then I also kind of realized, hey, I need to enjoy life too, as well. Right? That's a
Here,
big
here.
part too. You know, yes, the world is very fucked up and everything. I do my part to try to add either knowledge or awareness, but also some of this inner work stuff, which I constantly harp on, telling people, hey, this is very important stuff. You know, all this stuff is going on, but you really have to take control of yourself, right? You have to be accountable for yourself. You have to be responsible. You have to keep shaping yourself, just like you have to keep cleaning your apartment every week if you want it to be a
Right
nice
on.
living space.
Right on. Yeah. Clear the table, wash the dishes.
Right,
Take
right.
out the garbage.
So that's something that I've learned a few times too, is like, all right, you don't just get to this point. It's like, okay, I've perfected the human domain. I don't need to work on it. It's something where you constantly have to
Right.
keep up with it. It's like upkeep.
And this is perfect for in bulk because, I made the post about, cleaning your house, really preparing for the spring, a spring clean, because it's coming.
Yeah.
It's starting anew.
So, yeah. And I live in Massachusetts right now. It's kind of like the days are short. It's snowy out. There's like a foot of snow outside. It's not very lively out. I mean, I take my dog for walks and everything. There's not many people out because there's like a foot of snow, but when it's nice here, it's a beautiful place. I live on Cape Cod. So
Nice.
I live like 2 minutes from a beach. And when it's nice out, it's great out here. I mean, last summer I had a lot of fun riding my bike on the bike trail every day and going to the beach. I think I took a swim like every day.
Sweet.
Down there. There's tons of people out here in the spring and summer. So I really had a good time in the summertime. And last summer I did take a lot of time to work on myself. And that's probably why I hadn't had too many articles or videos out. I mean, I put some out, but I didn't have it. You put a lot out.
Your work is intense though. Like I know when I started my channel, I was doing hour and a half, 45 minutes, and now I'm just like, I got these quick, I dart in and I dart out.
Well, that might be a better way to do it,
People just get too overwhelmed with my shit, and they go, can you just like tone it down? It stresses me out. I'm like, okay, all right. So yeah.
Well, you know what I did too is I did these intense studies of this. Of this book called The Golden Bough.
Yes, you did.
And that's a really interesting book about a lot of the history of like magic and religion and some of the old rituals. It's based on this ritual where this guy lives by a lake or whatever. They call him the King of the Wood. And he just guards this tree by this little spring or whatever you call it. The tree is called the Golden Bough. And this guy guards this tree until another guy comes by and slays him. And then he becomes the King of the Wood. So it's like, and I think it's in like Italy or whatnot. And I did a lot of intense studies. I think this book is very interesting. And I went chapter by chapter explaining it. I did a lot of those videos.
It was intense.
That was interesting.
You guys have to check out Adam's channel. It's amazing.
The Garden of Great Work.
.org.
Yep.
Correct? Yes.
Yes. .org. A lot of people go to .com and then they're like, I can't find your site. I was like, no, it's .org. But yeah, I've been chipping away at that, and I cannot wait to have yours out when we publish yours.
Yay!
People can see, and I'd be happy to do more if people are interested.
Absolutely. And we'll have all of your information in the show notes below.
Yeah.
Tell us where we can find you in addition to your website.
Well, you can find me, I think, on Facebook, you can find me. I have an email I can give you. You can put that out.
Okay.
If people want to email me. I am on Instagram. It's the usual you know,
The
I'm
usual
not on,
suspects.
I'm not on Twitter, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I have my email that
Okay.
I'll give you.
Okay.
You can put that out.
All right, great.
Who are interested or whatever, and you know, and that's pretty much it. You can also get a hold of me on the website, I believe, gardenergreatwork.org. I think you can join as like a member, something like that. But email is probably the best way to get a
Okay.
hold of me.
Okay, good. We'll have all that information. Yeah, guys, I highly, highly recommend Adam's work, not just as a researcher, writer, alchemist, what have you, Scorpion Papa, Datura Green Thumb, etc. But the website work, the webmaster work, highly recommend. I'm just so,
I love your
it's
website.
so nice.
Cannot wait.
It's just so nice for me to just fucking relax
Yeah,
and not be all like fucking crazy.
that was a very smooth project too. You know,
Very, very smooth.
very easy.
Very smooth. Like,
Yeah.
you listen,
Yeah,
you don't go off into la la land talk over my head. I'm pretty tech savvy, but
yeah,
a lot of my experiences we're not even going to go there, you know. It's
Yeah.
like,
and I was able to
bye-bye,
kinda
sweep
like-
away.
yeah, and I was able to kind of give you directions when you didn't know how to
Yes.
navigate something. It was a very smooth project for both of us, and I'm really proud of that project. I'd love to do more. I'm so proud of the way it came out too. It was just like the colors and all
I
of
know the colors, all of my colors, folks. Purple,
You know what it looks like?
magenta. I mean, just and
it matches
techie.
your book. It matches your
Yes,
book.
yes, it does.
You
Yes,
know,
it does.
so I kind of went with that color scheme. Was like looking at your book and that kind of, you know, because it kind of gave a feel to you, like these are your colors, right? I guess you could say.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that and it came out beautiful. It
So
looks
yeah,
amazing.
it was really fun. Very zero stress, kids. Zero stress putting this together.
Yeah,
And I know that when I was doing my research and interviewing folks, I mean, some of the offers and some of that, like, what in the
Yeah.
hell? Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? Why are we here?
yeah,
Just unbelievable stuff, you know? So
yeah.
anyways, yeah, it's good. It's really
That was
good.
a very smooth project for both of us. Yeah, I mean, it was just it went along perfectly. Came together, and I cannot wait till it's published. It's gonna
Yay! So
really like it.
so
I
it's
think.
coming, kids. LoveTruth&Beauty.com, and we are redirecting marios.com as well. So that's
Yes.
going to be happening.
Yep.
Yay!
Yeah.
So we have a few moments. Any parting words?
Well, I think, yeah, to everybody out there, you know, we live in some strange times. We live in some difficult times, but also unusual, but also can be a chance, just like chaos. Chaos can also be an opportunity if you use it correctly,
Yes.
you know, to explore some of the mysteries of the great universe, to try to see some of the beauty in it as well. Like really explore yourself, explore, you know, see what you align with that helps you, things that add, you know, progress to your life, things that help support you along the way, things that give you influence and inspiration, and use that to better yourself. And always, you know, try not to get too lost. It's like deal with the stuff and explore some of the things and kind of do some research, I would say. And I would say with the research, don't always rely on social media. Like actually go into things and do some real research where you go
Here.
to source documents and stuff like that. And you really got to explore things for yourself, because what I've noticed is a lot of truths are obscured between two polar opposites.
Absolutely. They're controlled.
Yes, exactly. And so you really have to make a focused study of each thing that, and I say to people, find an area that you can specialize in. That's something that's very valuable. If somebody can say, hey, this is my specialty. This is something, it's kind of like a mastery. You have to make years of intense, because there's some things that are so deep that you can't just get a general feel for it. If you want to know about something, sometimes you have to go really deep into things,
Yes.
and then you start to uncover things that, hey, this is completely different than both sides are saying. So
Yes.
that's part of the whole truth process, which we all have to engage to some degree. But also, a lot of this is the inner work, and a lot of this has to do with, your own personal journey too, your own little great mystery.
Yay. Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's basically what I'd say.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. I mean, spoken like a master. I mean, truly. When I think about the process that I've witnessed, not only within myself and for other people, a lot of us get bogged down in the being lost, either
Yeah.
in translation or transition or
Mhm.
identification,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof of identification. I know that's been some of the stuff that I've been like really working through, my sorrow of no longer identifying as mother,
Mhm.
or caretaker,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. It's very, very strange, and it can be very disorienting to do the integral work of the incorporation,
Yeah.
and getting good with it, so that
Yeah.
you're not sitting there gnashing up against it and making your process your enemy.
And I'd say also another thing we should all keep in mind is trying to find that way we can all unify, find that way that we can connect rather than divide each other, and that's another thing that right now I'd say is probably, because the forces of evil, they have such a good hold over things because they're unified.
Yes, they are.
We could be just as unified and be a formidable force of good if we
Yes.
choose that,
Yes, that's
that's
very
going to
true.
work. That's going to take some work,
Yeah.
a lot of work. So
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
keep that in mind, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's something that even I've had to work out a lot.
Me as well. I mean, just the willingness to accept the fact
Yeah.
that evil exists.
Yeah.
There is evil within
Yeah.
every human heart, whether it gets expressed, and materialized, is really a matter of choice.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, we're learning that you don't have to be special to understand and have access to the various laws of the universe. We all have access to them. And I think that's just so key when you're doing the research, when you're doing the great inner work, that so much of these basic tenets, these laws of the universe, have been occulted on purpose, to make it seem like you have to be a famous family that has gone on for generations and generations, over the millennia into our human history, in order to access this. It's baloney. It's not true. And I think more and more of us are discovering it.
Yeah. And we all have our own kind of individual journey to take too, right?
Yes.
Some of the things we have to say, hey, what is a happy life? Like what would make my life a happy? Does it have to be this certain image that other people kind of have, or cultures have said, hey, this is the only, if you're working hard and you're making all this money and doing this and that. And a lot of people unfortunately equate money with happiness.
Yeah.
When I've kind of found something completely different. And it's like, hey,
yeah, me as well.
Happy is not necessarily this. I mean, of course, you want to be successful. Should be something where you have goals and you're actively working towards them, accomplishing them, but it doesn't have to be necessarily like, getting a bunch of money and having cars and houses. I mean, it's great to have that, I would say money you can be comfortable with money, but it's not something that it makes you happy, because if you see a lot of the most rich people in the world are some of the most miserable, right?
Absolutely. No.
So you have to keep
I
that
know
in
some
mind.
of them.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I've had a journey where my happiness is not measured by the norms of society, right?
And that is a good thing.
Yeah. And I'd say a lot of people should explore that, a lot of people should explore that concept. What makes you happy? What would be your ideal life? Being happy. And one of the things I've noticed was living in the moment, right? Because a lot of people, when you start thinking of being happy, what can make my life happy? People start thinking into the future.
Yes, they're gnashing
And
their
they're not holding on
brains
to the
out.
right
Yes.
now. And so that's been something that even I've had to kind of step back and say, okay, you know what? Maybe I should be focusing on the right now, because if I'm always, optimizing the present moment, then when I look back, I have a lot better memories, right?
Yeah.
And that would be more in line with a happy life, is living in the
Right.
now to the best of your ability,
Right.
optimization. And some obstacles, right? You have some obstacles. Don't let those obstacles pull you away from your passions. I know I commented on one of your posts the other day. Remember, you were talking about passions. You had that piano.
Yeah.
That thing about the piano
Yeah.
you had going about.
Getting back to that.
Yeah, and
It's the
one of
golden
the things
thread
I
in
said
my
was,
life.
don't let your obstacles and the things that are kind of challenging, like for me, my illness, but I don't let that, pull me away from my passions. Like I have to work a little harder to do them, right? But that's something that is always grounded within me, is living your passions.
Yeah.
I have passions about riding my bike, going off jumps and stuff like that. That's fun for me. That's something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about drawing and doing design. The web design, that was something I was like, wow, I didn't even realize I had a
Way
passion.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
you have to actively explore and just don't let your obstacles define you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Adam.
Thank
and
you.
you heard it, kids. That's your homework. That's your homework, is to answer the question, what does happiness look like for me? And get really intimate with that question, and do a bit of journaling, do a little bit of perhaps drawing or collaging or whatever it is that you want to do, and start getting real.
Yeah.
So thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Here.
It's always a pleasure.
Yay.
And I'll have to have you on my show again soon.
All right, darling. Thank you so much. All right, kids.
Bye.
Here's to love, truth, and beauty. Mwah. Yay.